welcome to another edition of the Reconciliation Conversation podcast. We want this to be a space where we can expose hate, encourage love, equip for healthy reconciliation, and emphasize unity so that all people can know their value together as one. My name is Derrick DeLain, and I'm here with my friend Jason Dukes. How you doing today, man?
What's up, man? Super excited to be here and excited about our guests today.
Yes. I, too, am excited because we have the pleasure of having one of my good friends on the show today. He is married to my friend, my little sister, Haley, and they have a beast of a son, Dakota Jr., that we all know and love as Dak. He's a graduate from Furman University. After graduation, he was the 137th pick in the NFL draft, being selected by the other team in New York. Yes, the other team, the New York Jets. But after becoming a free agent, he was quickly picked up by the Minnesota Vikings, and he is actually coming up on his second year with them. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited to introduce to you my little big bro, Dakota Dozier. How you feeling today, bro?
I'm good. How y'all doing? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man, no doubt. Well, like I said, little in the sense where you're a few years younger than me, but I know you're sitting at a good 6'4", 6'3", a nice 300 pounds. And the reason why, man, you need it for your job, right? You're
gotta have that weight. Gotta have that weight.
gotta have that weight. So listen, you haven't been in the gym a lot lately. I know you've been doing, some random workouts here and there. You still sitting at 300, or have you dropped a little bit?
I am. Got some time to go to Minnesota. Made that drive, beautiful drive. And actually, some of the gyms are open. So me and a couple teammates got together and made it work.
Nice. Well, man, we're excited to have you, man. I know, obviously, things are starting to pick up. You got some travel come up. So the fact that you would be willing to come alongside with us, man, I greatly appreciate it.
And like I said, I'm super glad to be here. Y'all invited me on, and I knew it was something I wanted to do.
No doubt. Well, let's jump into it, man. So obviously we've been fellas for a while now. I've come to understand there's a specific protocol that you need to follow as an NFL player, but as much as you are allowed in honor of the NFL protocol for players, how have the events the last 2 months made you feel as a black man, but then secondly, just as a black father?
It's definitely something that has kind of touched my heart and touched home. Kind of in the past, other things have happened, and conversations have been starting to be had, but kind of quiet back down. This one hit home a lot more for us because, like you said, this is our second year going to be in Minnesota, and we had been there for a year and really fallen in love with the community, the people. And for this to happen, Lake Street is about 25 minutes from our house, in Minnesota. And so we've been on it many times. We actually helped out a Salvation Army that's really close by there back in December. And so this one really touched home because it's like, man, this is still happening. Wow, this is happening in some place we call home. And so it definitely hit home, and I've had multiple conversations with my father-in-law. And it's been great just to have those conversations because he even admitted it. He's not racist, never has been. But until there's something in your life that connects you to it, you can kind of put it off on another shelf. And
now, for the sake of those who are listening that don't know, your father-in-law is a white man.
He's a white man, yeah. And so it's just been really cool to have the space to be able to talk to him, and even my mother-in-law. They have been gracious in listening to my experiences and what I've gone through. And I think even though Haley and I got pregnant, well, she got pregnant, and it clicked in, man. Our grandchild could, be black as well. And so, which is funny enough now, I am half white, and what you know, genetics said Dak's going to be white.
He is a nice little redhead, man.
Yes. The son has done a little bit. He's blonde a little bit more now, but we'll see what it ends up being. But he walking down the street, you would never guess that, unless he was with me, that he had any African American or black, whatever in it. But either way, and that's the thing, we have other kids, they can end up being darker, and it's kind of cool, Like I grew up in a family where I really was the only my dad went around, so I really was the only black person in my family. I grew up, have siblings. I might be his color, I might not be. And hey, listen, all skin's beautiful. And so we'll just we'll take it as we go. But you know, I've had multiple conversations with people and listened to a couple things, especially like Brian Loritz, talking about having the conversation with your kids, you know, about being black and traveling in America. And it's like, I won't have to have that talk with Dak, but it is something I'll explain to him. Is like, hey, when I'm in a vehicle, that's something that I was raised and have to think about. And you may not be, but still be respectful of police officers and anything like that, just because I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. And all you can do is do the best you can to de-escalate any event that might happen. And if they're wrong at the end of it, then you'll have your day. If they're right, then you're messing up. So I'm super excited about the things that have been begun to be stirred in this country. And honestly, you've seen a lot of it across the world. And so hopefully a lot of this sparks a lot of good change.
That's good. That's good. I appreciate you giving your perspective, man.
Yeah, for sure. And you said it already, but I mean, you're in Minnesota, right? I mean, you call that home at least part of the year, if not a good part of the year. You know, even though with the COVID stuff, I know it took you out of there some, but you've been able to go back a little bit, but you stayed connected, obviously. I mean, what's the city feeling right now, and what are you seeing with just how leaders in the community are responding to what's going on?
You know, obviously it was a terrible, tragic event, and you never want these kind of things to happen. But if they're gonna happen, you want change to come alongside and be part of that. And so, being a community has made me feel extremely hopeful, because you just see so many people. You know, obviously there's been some violent protests, but there's been a lot of peaceful protests, and not as much as that gets, you know, put in the media and all other things. And you see a city, I mean, Minneapolis and St. Paul, so you got the Twin Cities, like they're just trying to heal and understand what's going on, because you've seen these buildings burned down and torn down, and yet now there's people out in the community helping rebuild. I've seen a lot of places where they still not rebuilt yet, but they put up plywood, and then beautiful murals are being painted about, you know, social justice things going on, you know, George Floyd, love, and all these other things. It's just awesome to see that this is not a moment that's being wasted, that they're really saying, all right, this is something that needs to change, and we can be a huge part of that. And I've been able to go down in the community a little bit. I went to a social injustice meeting at a place called All Square. It's a little restaurant in Minneapolis, and they help people who've been convicted of felonies and different things get back on their feet. And I honestly didn't even realize to what extent and how difficult it was for somebody to do that. Whether it's housing, you know, any kind of loan, getting any kind of job. And I got to meet some of the people who've kind of graduated from their program, and it's super dope that here's these people saying, you know what, I screwed up, I messed up, and but I'm trying to be on the straight and narrow. And the way that it's set up, it's really hard to ever get back on track, because you see that one little blip on my record and I'm done. So it was really cool just to experience that and see how they do that, and they navigate them, you know, getting back into work. And all right, if it's super difficult to get a job after this, then what's something you're super passionate about? Maybe you can start your own business. And so it's just been really cool. And then I was able to go to a supply drive and just, I mean, I have no idea how many people came. We were handing out toilet paper and paper towels and food and diapers and everything. It's just awesome to see how many people were there to help distribute, and how many people were in need. Because you tack this on to a pandemic, and it's like, man, there's already a few supplies as it is, and then the places right around the corner where you can get stuff are all closed because they've been, you know, vandaled or whatever. And so it's been really cool to see that. And then as far as like churches, we've been connected to a couple different churches, whether it's through Bible studies we've been able to have, or whenever we can attend. We did find it's pretty sweet. The church that we go to most in Minnesota is actually, I know it's half a mile from our house. So it's been super cool. And they've, with COVID going on, been obviously shut down a little bit, but some of the churches have, said we're going to meet as best we can and limit the number of people. And other churches have been doing the online route. It's just been super encouraging to see that in the midst of a pandemic, they're absolutely taking advantage of this opportunity to reach out to the lost people and to hurt people and just saying, hey, this is a broken world. And that is why a lot of this stuff is happening. And we have to understand that our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ is the only way to ever see heaven. And I'm super excited to see where this all ends up going.
That's good, man. That's so good. Well, man, I do want to talk about it a little bit. Obviously, again, you are in Minnesota. So from your perspective, how would you say the Viking organization is envisioning this coming season in light of things that are going on? And to tack on that, maybe speak a little bit from your perspective, how is the NFL envisioning this coming season? And if they foresee it being different or not because of things that are going on.
Yeah, I think the Vikings are in a pretty unique situation in this. I didn't even know this until recently, but the Will family, excuse me, is the owners of the Minnesota Vikings. They're actually children of Holocaust survivors, and so they've been part of a people group who have experienced discrimination. And learning that, I was like, man, like that's awesome. That obviously it was a terrible thing that happened in their history, but they get it. So they, even before last year was my first year there, and there was already a social injustice committee as part of the organization where coaches and players are on it, and we're donating money to funds, and we as a team decide how those funds get broken up and where they go. And so from Jump Street, I feel like the Vikings got a pretty good head start on a lot of people because we've had obviously our virtual meetings and everything, and the Will family has joined and said, hey, we're feeling you, like we understand the hurt that is happening right now, and we want to support you in any way we can. And we understand that conversations need to be had and healing is going to need to occur, but like we're here with you along the way. And so I'm so excited to be a part of the Viking organization in this because they get it.
I love that.
League wide, you've seen obviously players come out and just have a lot of open conversations. The league itself has responded. There was a video sent out that some of my teammates were in, and a lot of big names in the league were a part of, and just said, hey, now, change now. And Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL, came out and said, you guys are absolutely right. We've been approaching this the wrong way. And so for the commissioner of our league to come out and say that carries a lot of weight. And so I really do feel like change is coming, and this is not something that's going to be swept under the rug. I'm pretty sure I'm out of my number here, but the NFL is committed to donating $250 million to social injustice issues over the next 10 years. And so they're not just saying it, they're being about it.
Putting their money where their mouth is.
Exactly. And so I think that's just a huge thing to see happen. And once again, I'm just super proud of the NFL to be doing that.
Yeah. I mean, again, you hear of organizations, or you're starting to see, organizations on social media putting things on, posting things. And man, that's all well and good. I'm thankful for that. But to not only say something, but then it's like, man, this is how like we can help contribute, financially, right? Like we gonna let it hit our pockets to step into some of these conversations in healthy ways. Man, I think that's huge. I think that's huge. So yeah, I didn't know that. And maybe they've talked about that on ESPN or something. I just missed it. But I think that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, what an incredible opportunity not only for them to empathize, but to lead out among the owners, to lead out, for the Vikings organization to lead out with the league. And that's got to be special to be a part of. I mean, we recognize that this is not just a Minnesota issue, right? Like, we know that full well. However, what sparked the current moment obviously happened there. And so, I mean, that's got to, and I don't mean pride in a bad way, but I mean, there's got to be you probably have a sense of pride being a part of that organization right in the middle of the heart of where this was really sparked, and just what that means. I mean, I'm sure you're already excited about pancaking somebody this coming fall, right? But you got to have this other sense of excitement of what that means. Like I joked with you, I with pride wore my New Orleans shirt. I'm from New Orleans, but man, I can tell you, my mom and dad were affected by Katrina. And I can tell you, even though it was 4 years later when the Saints won the Super Bowl after Katrina, what it did for the city and what the Saints did for the city following Katrina, which again, totally, that's apples to oranges. I get it. This is a different kind of thing, but it's similar in one way, and that is you guys get to respond to it. You've got to have a sense of pride, I'm sure, looking into the season, excited, thinking, man, we get to be a part of something much bigger than a win this year.
Absolutely. Like growing up in South Carolina, and living in North Carolina, you have the Panthers, but they're really like that pro pride for sports isn't as big. But in the Midwest, man, like it is Vikings and Packers. Like that's it.
Yep.
And like they love their football. And so it's awesome to see when the Vikings get behind something, how much of an impact it has in the community. It's just been fabulous. And so, like you said, there's a little bit of a sense of pride. It's like we're on the front lines of this. Like I said, this happened in our city, and so we get to be the first ones to respond to it. And I feel like we have the chance to have the biggest impact as it comes to like an NFL organization. And so, come this fall, it's going to be super fun to get involved with more things as the pandemic kind of eases or whatever that looks like. But we're gonna be on the front lines of it for sure.
Yeah, and that's just not empty words too, as far as an organization kind of being in the community, because I know there were several players that actually went to the memorial service for George Floyd out in Minnesota.
And so I was
some of your teammates.
I was fortunate to be there with him, and we went into that day not expecting to actually attend the memorial. We just wanted to go downtown and be with the peaceful protesters and say, look, listen, we're people in this city just like you, and this has impacted us as well. And so we just want to be here with you. But then we got down there and someone kind of flagged us down and said, hey, we want y'all to attend the memorial. And so we actually went into memorial service, and man, that's a moment in my life I'll always remember, just to be there. Because if you've been to a funeral service for your friend or family member, whatever, like you understand how emotional that moment is. And for them to say, hey, we're hurting right now, but we want people to experience this and invite us into that. Like it was super special. And we're so thankful for the Floyd family for letting us attend that. And just to hear his family tell stories about, their uncle or their brother, and like, man, like they love this dude and they had some fun with him. And loss of life is just a terrible thing, but to hear Reverend Al Sharpton get up and speak and just have the whole crowd just locked in to what's going on, and realizing like this is a moment in United States history where change begins. And
it's good.
I'm super excited, like I said, to watch this change happen and see what this generation can do to impact my son's generation. Like how can we leave this place a better place than what we grew up in?
So good. Well, you hit it right there. And we know change is going to take a long time, but it has to start, right? I mean, like as we think about encouraging our listeners about one or two action steps that they can take, how do you imagine that? Even whether it's something you've seen or even something you imagine, but you know this would make a difference. What might you suggest to someone who's just thinking, they're almost overwhelmed by the long-term change, right? But what's a step that they could take right now?
Man, you see a lot of people getting involved on social media, and I'm not saying that's a bad step. Like, that's a step that needs to be taken because a lot of people are going to get things from that. But be proactive, like actually do physical things. For example, I'll use myself. My brother-in-law is a detective in a local county here in North Carolina. I'm a black man. We've had some conversations, and listen, it's real. Like, I'm so thankful for him, and I know that he's a great detective, and he does his job, and he holds his job to a high level. And we've had to sit down and have conversations, and I know there's more conversations coming, and it's not easy because this is his job, and he sees it being attacked for being this terrible thing, and in reality it's not. But there's bad seeds there's bad seeds in the NFL, there's bad seeds in the church, there's bad seeds in the police departments, and so that has major impact on your body as a whole. And so have those conversations with people. You may not have a black member of your family, you may not have a police officer in your family, but you've got somebody somehow connected, and have a conversation with them and just say, hey, I don't understand, just give it to me, explain what's going on. And if you don't, listen, I've seen so many podcasts pop up right now. Like, if you want information, it is there.
It's out there. The Recon Convo.
Right here. This is where it's at. And there's a lot of great books. And I would just say, don't miss this moment. Be a part of it and understand that, like you said, the change, looking at the big picture, it can be a lot. And one of my on-line coaches in college, he said something to me that has always stuck out, and it's applied to a lot of things in my life. And it's, how do you eat an elephant? And it's one bite at a time.
Yep.
Like, that is the only way you'll ever get something done, is to say, it may take 10 years, it may take 20 years, whatever it's going to take. But I'm going to take one bite or one step or one different approach at a time. And eventually you'll get done. And I think that's how we're going to have to approach this thing, is saying, don't tell people to be quiet about it. Let them, let their thoughts be heard, and let the conversations that begin because of it stir in people. And then that changes, whether it be politics, whether it be policies, whatever it is, to get this country, and honestly this earth, to a place where, hey, you're black, you're beautiful. You're white, you're beautiful. You're brown, you're beautiful. Like, whatever it is, like, just see people for being people. And I think that's where we need to be.
I love it. I love it. Good. You said something, and man, Jason, you actually say this often, but I'm just encouraged that now, I think at this point, multiple people have said it. And this is a long time thing, right? Like, we can't expect it to happen overnight. We can't expect change to happen overnight. But if it is a 5, 10, 15, 20-year thing, it is that one step at a time, one conversation at a time, one dinner at a time, one, whatever it is at a time. That's when you begin to realize, number one, people aren't monolithic, right? Like, how I interact with one person is different than how I interact with others. I get to learn shared experiences. I learn to look at things not with rose-colored glasses, but a mosaic, if you will, right? There's different particles as I'm looking through this thing, but that's what makes it beautiful as we're navigating this. So, man, I appreciate you sharing that, and overall, man, I appreciate you coming on. Like I said, we know that you're busy. You got things that you're doing. You got Dak that you're chasing around, and so for you to be willing to come up and spend some time with us here is greatly appreciated, bro. So I thank you.
Hey, thank y'all for having me. Life can get busy, but there's always time for things like this. And like I said before, I'm super glad I could do it. This is the kind of thing that I want people to hear, because this is what's going to start that change.
That's good. That's good.
Well,
So let me
say one thing, man. One question that's a super quick answer and just one statement of appreciation. Like the first question is, say your number so that our listeners can be looking for you this season.
78.
What number you wear? 78. All right. I thought so. I didn't want to be wrong. I knew it was 70 something because of the pictures I'd seen.
No, true and Michael recognize it all the time. Mr. Dakota.
I love it. So our listeners out there, be looking for 78 in that beautiful purple this year. But then secondly, man, thank you. I mean, I'm a big takeaway for me from what you said today. I love that you shared with vulnerability about leaning into hard conversations, even though they're good conversations, leaning in to the good conversations you're having with your father-in-law, leaning in to to maybe even difficult but beautiful conversations you're having with your brother-in-law. I don't know that they're difficult, but I just imagine that they're definitely full, right? Like they have depth and substance to them. And I think sometimes we get confused and we get overwhelmed, and we need to realize, man, that's the first step toward learning and changing, is that confusion. And so I appreciate that you shared that today, just leaning in like you're doing. And I hope that we'll all do that.
It is something I think that can cause a lot of great change and conversations to be had. Just don't duck away, lean in. That's a great way to put it. Lean into it.
That's good. Well, Dakota, you're on social media, man. We would love to give our listeners an opportunity to follow you, see your beautiful family, man. You're on Twitter and Instagram. Where can they follow you?
It's Bull Dozier 78. BULL Dozier 78.
The dopest
Very cool
handle out there.
Hey, Lord bless me with a good name to go along with this profession. So
that's good stuff.
I got to use it.
That's right.
I love it. And then obviously, man, you're with the Vikings. So if they can, with Instagram and Twitter with them, obviously it's just at Vikings. If anybody wants to follow them as well. But man, again, one more time, thank you, Dakota. I love you, man. Thankful for you. And thank you for joining us here. For our listeners, thank you for joining in on the Recon Convo. Remember, you can connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter under the Recon Convo. You can also stay connected with us through our website, reconciliationconversation.com, or feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel under No More Night Media. Alongside my friend Jason Dukes, my name is Derrick DeLain, and we look forward to continuing the conversation with you next time. Peace out.